As most people are aware, Disney has been facing deep struggles concerning their attempts to avoid yet another financial disaster in the projected flop of its upcoming, massively expensive, extremely woke themed Snow White film. To now add to their difficulty, the Daily Wire is releasing their own Snow White movie, one that they claim holds to the traditional storyline. So, could that be the final nail in the coffin of Disney's hope to avoid what could be yet another unbelievable financial loss? Let's talk about that. Hey, welcome back to Enough with the Crazy. From the time that it became publicly known that Disney was doing a completely woke and inclusive reimagining of the beloved classic of Snow White, they have faced nothing but major backlash from the public. Now, as it was bad enough for the film that countless social media outlets both exposed the woke inclusivity agenda and vehemently opposed and ridiculed it, they made the huge mistake of having the lead actress Rachel Zegler do publicity for it. In her interviews, all this young woman did was add fuel to the fire of Disney's struggles by basically trashing the original story.
But and changing the voice and everything, I feel so lucky that I got to play something that is so far from what I know and what I'm used to, and I super enjoyed every second of it.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign. I am.
But in fairness to her, as you saw in the videos, even though she is the one that is being criticized for her comments, her co-star Gal Gadot also seemingly supported what Rachel was saying by emphasizing how modern the story is, how much she loved doing it, and in how Snow White isn't rescued by the prince, therein endorsing this feminist, boss woman character change herself. Now, none of this changes their clearly revealed attempt to criticize the original classic as something that is bad, just to uplift this woke feminist version as that which is good.
I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
So no prince, or a different kind of prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because we cast a guy in the movie,
right.
Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But it's one of those things.
So true,
it's an inner journey that she goes on to find her true self, and she meets a lot of people along the way that make the journey really incredible.
This is why the new Snow White film coming from Bentkey, the new kids streaming entertainment platform from the Daily Wire, is so important. You see, Hollywood has been very effective in promoting everything woke because up until now, they have had no viable competition to contend with from the traditional side. They have to date been instrumental in promoting the woke agenda of extreme feminism, non-gender identities, sexual perversion, child sexuality, and the emasculation of men, to name but a few, because of that. And they've been able to be effective because up to this time, there were no other options available for the public. But now, as this new Snow White film, a film that is dedicated to present only the true story and not a political agenda, has become a viable competitor, it has Disney's film all but set to fail.
My queen, Snow White.
She is my undoing?
She's the reason your powers wane.
Take a look in
Her innocence and purity is all that can destroy you. On this day, be warned. She is also your salvation queen.
Now, on first glance at this trailer, I have to admit that the film seems a bit on the dark side, maybe darker than what younger children should see. However, it is my great hope that this film is age appropriate and does extremely well, because if it does, it sends a clear message to Disney that they need to seriously reconsider if what they want is to be primarily in the business of spreading propaganda or in making quality family friendly films. Especially if, because of the success of viable competition, it results in the loss of hundreds of millions of dollars for them. A concern Disney is currently facing because of the backlash they've already received from the public. Now, interestingly enough, with the much anticipated release of the Daily Wire Snow White film, Disney has announced that their film will not be released on the March 2022 date originally planned, but rather a year later in March of 2025. And that reportedly because they are working to redo the film into something that is more traditional, such as, for example, replacing the 7 magical creatures with CGI generated classical dwarfs. And this is exactly what is needed to effectively oppose the overwhelming influence the left has been having on our youth. Now, the problem to date isn't that there hasn't been enough people on the conservative side fighting the influence from the liberals, because there are. The problem is that there really hasn't been anything beyond conservative commentary, and that alone just isn't enough to combat the liberals' ability to continue pushing these damaging ideologies. You see, we can fight the idiotic ideologies of liberalism in the media until we're blue in the face, and it really won't change anything for our youth because they have no other options available for them. And until we offer people an actual alternative to the woke movement in the entertainment venue, in our work and school systems, people will continually have to hear the woke message, which over time will desensitize them to the harm it does, even to the very nature of how ridiculous it is. I mean, come on, a man can have a baby? It's really okay for adults to provide homosexual materials to young kids? Young children that no one believes are smart enough to decide how they should eat because they would only eat junk and harm themselves are smart enough to decide that at 8 years old they need a sex change surgery? Who in their right mind could think like this? One would have to be a complete imbecile to think this way. But this is what happens when everywhere our youth go, they are inundated through places like Hollywood and their liberal schools telling them that these things are good. And let's be honest, these places continue to do these things simply because they can. But now that there's a viable alternative for our kids with the upcoming release of the Daily Wire Snow White film, look at the powerful effect it has had on Disney. You see, it is reported that Disney is so concerned about the film bombing because of the pushback they've received, and now with the Daily Wire's film as direct competition, that they have delayed their film because they are replacing their woke magical creatures that they claim to really believe in because of the critical importance of inclusivity within our society with the non-woke traditional dwarves in an attempt to save their failing film. I guess their proclaimed belief in the importance of inclusivity is dependent solely upon whether or not it makes them a profit. Up until this point, Disney has spent a reported $168.2 million making this film. And that because as they filmed in the UK, they received from the UK a $41.1 million reimbursement, without which they would have spent approximately $210 million to make it. Now, I have also read reports that with the changes Disney is now making to the film, that cost could go up as high as $330 million. Still, even at just the $168.2 million production cost, it is established that they will have to gross $336.4 million in sales to just break even. What Disney is contending with in light of that is that most entertainment experts are projecting that the film is in danger of coming nowhere near that amount of gross sales, especially since the traditional version from the Daily Wire is set to be released. So what is the bottom line? Well, it's pretty clear to me that to be effective in our fight against the mindless stupidity that liberals are creating in many people, we need to do more than just talk. When this Daily Wire produced Snow White film is released, we all need to show up and make it a resounding success so that the potential of much needed alternatives to the woke narrative in entertainment will be firmly established as a means to a viable, continual resource in our society. If we can accomplish a means for true family friendly films to be as successful as a Hollywood film, then we will have opened the door for the level of competition in filmmaking that is needed to make Hollywood reconsider the costs of pushing their idiotic agendas upon our children. And I don't know about you, but I am convinced that this is what needs to happen to end Hollywood's effectiveness in promoting their woke agenda. So when the Daily Wire Snow White film hits theaters in 2024, make sure that you get out there to make it as successful as possible, because hopefully that will give them the financial resources necessary to continue offering quality films that provide families with the means to not have to endure the woke agenda being forced upon them. It hopefully will also create the means for other quality filmmakers to come forward and have a market for their films, which is needed as there are actors and actresses, directors and producers who don't buy into the woke agenda, but who have to remain silent lest they be canceled. Those who yet would also probably love having the ability to be successful in their films promoting good, quality family values. Our making this Daily Wire film successful could very well be the best means we have to really minimize the harmful effect of Hollywood in our society. So feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy this type of content, please share it with others, as that would be a great benefit to me. Also, would you consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel, as that would be an immense help to me in growing the channel. Hey, as always, I would like to say God bless you and thanks so much for taking the time to listen. Until next time,